So Freemasonry. That's not what I'm talking about for this episode, but I know you mentioned you got some intel and maybe can get more.
My dear sweet grandmother was visiting this past weekend. She lives up in Ohio, the meme state. I mean, lived there that's her whole life has been there. But she came to visit. She's 88, so
lived a good life.
She actively has cancer, but is choosing not to get treatment because she is like going out on my own terms kind of lady. So
respect.
Good for her.
Yeah.
She's been doing great, actually. So we were all talking. My sister was there. She's 25, a few years younger than me. So we were just talking about stuff. Turns out her father, so my great-grandfather, was a high-ranking Freemason. And it almost, back when she was married to her husband, so my mom and aunt's dad, they divorced. I never knew him. They divorced a long time ago. He's passed away since. But he was Catholic, and she was Protestant or just like non-denominational Christian, but he was a Freemason and was like, my daughter will be married in the Mason Lodge. His side was like, no, they're going to be married in the Catholic Church. So that in itself, that feud almost they didn't get married. And so apparently back then in the 1950 or 49, if you were under the age of 21, you couldn't get married. Because the voting age wasn't 18 yet.
Interesting.
It was 21.
Interesting.
So, in the law at the same time, your parents had to sign off on your marriage if you were under 21, and they were both 19 at the time. So, but at the time this was during the civil rights and everything. So a few states had passed laws where you could get married and vote at 18, where they changed basically the U.S. law to 18 is considered an adult.
Right.
A few states then had changed that law. I did not know this was a thing until I looked. She told me, I was like, she was saying like, yeah, you couldn't get married. I was like, there's no way. 18's an adult. She's like, not back then. I was like, really? So I looked it up. Yeah, that was a thing.
To be fair, there were a lot of things you couldn't do in 1949.
True.
You know?
Like, and apparently 18 was not considered an adult. 21 was. And now 18 was, because a lot of these, around that time, World War II had just ended and people were being drafted to Vietnam, and people were like, we're the ones being drafted because
like 17 or 18
exactly,
years old.
so we want to say, so like they wanted voting rights. So Indiana, which is like Illinois, Indiana is right under Ohio.
That sounds right.
So that, I believe Indiana did have, you could get married at 18. So like, hey, you want to go get married? So they drove to Indiana and got married.
At a masonry lodge or?
At a courthouse.
Oh, okay.
They just wanted, wanted neither of it.
You do what you got to do.
Yeah, they didn't want either of it influencing it. But that's beside the point. That's all I know about it, is that my great-grandfather was a high-ranking Mason, and that if you know someone, you can get into it. So I'm doing a Mr. Beast vet challenge. Like, how long can I infiltrate? I'm going undercover, infiltrating the Masonry Lodge and seeing how long I can get away with it. Let's go.
And the whole video is like less than 10 minutes with lots of jump cuts.
Yeah, and like I got a whole camera crew with me, and they're like, I remember. Do you remember? So back in the day, me and Greg used to act in commercials, and we did.
There was a time. Not saying we were, hot shots in Hollywood or anything, because we weren't.
No.
But we got some gigs. We got a few gigs.
It's fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So they do a lot of filming for like toy commercials in Dallas. So back in the day, we did a commercial for, I believe it was Super Soaker, and they filmed it on the steps of the Masonic Lodge in Dallas.
Yeah, it was either Super Soaker or it was a Hasbro thing. I know because the Hasbro casting director loved me and cast me in everything that she could, because she was like, this kid's gonna be famous, and I'm like, I don't think so. She's like, no, he will. I'm gonna cast him now so he remembers me.
The reptilians were
I'm sorry, it didn't happen.
It was not in the cards.
Nope.
No, because that was the shoot that I booked and you booked, but we didn't know we had booked it, and I got on the butt because they...
Oh, is that right? You were just there? I don't remember that.
Because I remember, because we had to, basically you get to this area very early in the morning. They give you breakfast, and then they got on a bus to shuttle us to where they were going to film the first shot,
Right.
which is this big field. And I got on the bus. I turn around, and I see this doofus, and I'm like, "Hey!" And you're like, "Hey!"
I guess we did book it separately. Yeah, but then from then on, we booked other like Hasbro and Beyblade commercials.
Oh, the Beyblade one was
blast.
Sick.
That was so fun, dude.
That was so they like at carnivals they have the circle cage with the dirt the dirt bike goes around.
Yeah.
They had that set up, and there were 3 guys just going around with pyrotechnics.
It was
that was
friggin'
the
awesome.
coolest thing.
And it was for these 2 kids spinning tops,
it was
dude.
so sick, though.
They had like a UFC octagon,
So
right?
sick.
Like chain link. And these kids are like walking in, they're all tough, and we're hyping them up or patting them on the back. And they go in, and
It was
it's
just
like
Beyblades. It was death. It was
Freaking
dead.
Beyblade, dude.
We were all cheering, and it's just this tiny little plastic ring.
Yeah, because they had to show the real arena, right? They couldn't pretend that it's anything bigger than that, you know?
But
Yeah.
I mean, like it was still sick as hell.
But to
though.
get to the story, we filmed part of that at the Masonic Lodge.
Yes.
In downtown.
Sorry, I got sidetracked there.
And we tried to sneak in. We did go in for a little bit. The green room was in there. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember because we tried going down the hallways and stuff. We're like, oh, this is like the Masons. Like we
Yeah.
they're a national treasure.
We got
like,
a little turned around though. Like I remember we were vaguely lost.
we found that weird chapel.
We
right?
did, yeah. But I was like, we probably shouldn't go any further, or we're not getting out of here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I think we weren't on this mindset at the time because I think we were in middle school,
Something
high school,
middle or high school.
I think it was middle school.
Yeah.
Because I remember we knew of the Masons because of National Treasure. Because they're
That's right.
because I'll have to do an episode on the Masons at some point
Mm-hmm.
because the Knights Templar evolved into the Freemasons.
I've been preparing for an Oak Island episode actually, so that's a Templar
Ooh,
related thing.
yeah, it is.
There's
There's
that's
a
not
lot
today.
Some consider the Masons and the Templars to be different or like different
Mm-hmm.
factions of the Masons.
Yeah, I think they are different because they're from different periods in history as well.
Because I think
but
maybe
they're mysterious organizations all the same.
I believe the Masons were the faction that split off when America was founded. Like they're the American version of the Templars, which are mostly British based, I believe. British and French based.
I think so.
If I remember. I'll have to brush up on that. Assassin's Creed touches on that a lot too,
True.
which is a lot of it's fiction, but it's interesting.
Anyway, we're gonna find out more info on Freemasonry from a secondhand source, and maybe because you knew a guy and you can prove it, maybe you walk in and it's like you're the new chancellor and you're running the show.
Oh, and then you'll never hear from me again.
Yeah, and then I sit here talking to nobody about this podcast.
Actually, I get replaced by a doppelganger. I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
I am artificial Nicholas.
And you're vaguely Russian?
No. You are mishearing me. I have cold.
Incorrect. And then you get more Russian. Incorrect.
And it just cuts to a POV of my vision. It's like option A through D is like kill, say hello.
It's just terminate.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, man. And the other moral of the story is you may have people in life. We can zoom in on this. Bring the camera closer. You're going to have people in life that you're going to have a dream. Those people are going to believe in you. A lot of the time, those people are wrong. That's why I never got past Hasbro commercials. That's why I didn't make it in Big Time Rush. That's why I'm sitting here doing this podcast.
That's why we're 2 white men doing a podcast. Because we did it.
We did.
We did it, Joe.
So welcome to the Zeitgeist Podcast.
Hell yeah.
My name is Greg.
My name is Nicholas.
And all right, let's get into it. So I don't think I'm going to ruffle too many feathers or surprise too many people. I think I've talked before. There are things that the government has done, the U.S. government, I should say, has done that kind of rub me the wrong way. Would you agree?
No.
Yeah, there's things that, even more importantly, the U.S. government has done that you and I, and everybody
watching,
were not taught about in school.
Mm-hmm.
So part of my, I don't want to say mission, right? It's not a mission, but part of
my manifesto.
Part of there is a manifesto in the story.
Oh God. Okay.
Part of what I do in this podcast when I get a chance to do an episode, which is every other episode, I like to go in and teach you guys something that really happened. Call it a mind sweeper because it really happened.
Right.
But it's something you were never told about that the government, usually government, not always government, usually government. The CIA had a heart attack gun.
That one still blows my mind.
And that is a fact. That really happened. The CIA had all kinds of crazy contraptions to try and assassinate Fidel Castro. and I did a whole episode on that, right?
Very Looney Tunes.
In that episode, I also mentioned another figure that was a big part of the Cuban Revolution alongside Fidel Castro named Che Guevara, right?
Right.
We all know his face. There's a picture of him, extremely famous. How many of you really know who the heck Che Guevara is?
I don't know who it is.
Most people don't. And I'm going to test everybody here. If you're watching, comment below. What country is Che Guevara from? Anybody know?
Yes, Che Guevara.
Yes.
Cuba?
No.
Is it a Hispanic country?
Yes.
Chile.
Nope.
Chile. Brazil.
Nope.
Mexico.
And that's technically Brazil is not a Hispanic country, but
Latin country, I should say.
yeah, I don't even. Brazil's a weird one. So I'm Brazilian.
Portuguese
right?
country.
I'm a Brazilian citizen, so I struggle with this because I'm like, does that make me Latin? Or like because they speak Portuguese there, and
I
like
guess
they don't
you're right.
consider themselves Latin America. They consider it's South America,
See,
right?
I would assume
So
Latin would be anything in that kind of dialect, like
one would
Portuguese,
think.
Spanish.
One would think. There's a lot of weird stuff when it comes to identity between like Brazil and its neighboring countries.
Okay. Well, you know
but
more than me.
particularly the country that Che Guevara is from. Did you get it right? I'm going to check these comments. Don't cheat. Argentina.
Oh.
People don't know that, right? And there's a reason for that. We aren't taught these things. But a lot of people will put Che Guevara on their shirt and have no idea where the heck he came from or how he got his start.
Should I know
right?
this picture?
Yeah, I'll show you. Hold on.
Because I don't know who that is.
We can put it on the screen.
But for my sake, I have no idea.
This picture.
I was wondering the obey
Yeah,
shirts.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking that was
putting
what
it on
it
the
was.
screen. If you've had a T-shirt of this man and not known where he came from, well, you're about to learn. So if somebody
yes.
ever challenges you, you're gonna find out.
You hooked me. I'm ready.
All right, and I didn't even get to the big stuff yet.
Well, I've always wondered who that was.
So, all right, here's the hook. Here's the real hook. Che Guevara got his start as part of a communist government that was being built in Guatemala.
Okay.
Che Guevara was part of a coup on the Guatemalan side that was actually run by the U.S. government on behalf of a well-known company. Here's the hook. Are you, and this isn't a coded message, right? I know it's June, but this isn't a coded message. Are you a consumer of fruits?
Oh my god.
Oh
my god.
I'm asking like real fruits.
I just like the joke.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So
yes,
if you go to the store and you buy a banana, I know it's June.
Wait,
but if you buy a banana,
I think I know where this is going. Actually, like
Okay.
for real. Okay, go ahead.
If you buy a banana, there's two brands, right? What are those two brands you probably see?
One's Dole.
One's Dole, right?
What's that? Chiquita.
Chiquita.
Chiquita bananas. Yeah.
Chiquita overthrew the Guatemalan government with help from the United States CIA.
Oh yes, I have heard of this.
And as a result, led Che Guevara to be a part of the Cuban Revolution. So, let's get into the story. And there's a lot of backstory here, but in 1954,
this story sounds quite appealing.
It's appealing.
Anyway, kill me. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So, in 1954, this is like the general subtitle, but Guatemala had democratically elected Jacobo Arbenz as their president. And he was working to build a people's republic or a communist government in Guatemala. Okay? So let's actually go back a little before that. I wanted you to know that so you knew who was in charge. Arbenz is an important guy. What was happening in Guatemala before that is that Guatemala had a revolution about 10 years prior. So it began in 1944. They toppled the military dictatorship of Jorge Ubico. And then they elected a Democratic president and then another Democratic president after that. I'm kind of skipping over a lot of things. But essentially, they were trying to institute land reform, okay? Because there were a lot of people in Guatemala that were impoverished and didn't own any property.
Right.
However, most of them were working said property that they did not own. They were, by and large, as a country, most of the people that worked were working for the United Fruit Company, right?
Oh.
Which is now Chiquita.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, do you want to...
No, I remember how this relates to a certain company. So,
Maybe you know more than I do because the company is Chiquita, but United Fruit Company was rebranded to be Chiquita.
Because I remember this something about the Banana Republic.
Okay, I was going to bring that up actually.
Okay.
Darn. All right, I had a really good thing for that too. So, for those of you guys who don't know, Banana Republic is a clothing brand, right? The term Banana Republic was coined by a novelist in early 1900s, I think like 1904 or something, 1901. And it described, in his case, he was in Honduras or maybe it was Guatemala, one of the two. And it described the country that basically they were dependent on fruit companies.
Right.
So it was kind of like a negative term to call them a banana republic, right? Because they were not free. They were not independent of themselves. They had to have a fruit company actually exporting their produce so that they could have any kind of living at all, right?
Right.
Somebody in the 1970s was like, that's cute. Let's use that. And they made a clothing brand for safari and outdoors kind of clothing, which was then about 10 years later purchased by Gap. Gap decided, let's just make a bunch of cheap clothes, but charge really high prices for it, which is actually the perfect essence of a Banana Republic. Really cheap material and labor, and really, really high profits.
Exactly.
Right? So it actually ties nicely. But yes, Guatemala was a Banana Republic.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm glad you actually brought that up. I was going to get to that at the end, but
I learned about that
recently,
is even better. So that's why I remembered.
Yeah. So okay. Anyway, so the Guatemalan Revolution, like I said, they overthrew their dictatorship so that they can hopefully get somebody who's going to support their needs. And they did so. And they had two presidents, right? Arevalo was the first one that they elected, and then Arbenz came after that in 1951. The U.S. federal government didn't like this. They were not a fan. They were already in the middle of the Cold War. And as such, anybody who was part of a communist party was in some form or fashion probably tied to the Soviets, right? Who were the main enemies of the Cold War.
Right.
So they were already suspicious. They were like, let's keep an eye on Guatemala here, right? Like I don't know. They basically created a Guatemalan Party of Labor, which was communist in nature. They were afraid that they could at some point spread from Guatemala to other Latin American countries like Honduras, like Venezuela, right? Nicaragua. Things that they're like, okay, this would be bad for us if they keep on moving up. And then, now it's Mexico. Wait a minute, now we've got war at our doorstep. That's what they were afraid of. And so they were already kind of like keen to not really let that happen. But the big player was the United Fruit Company, Chiquita, bananas. They had a highly profitable business, and it was affected by, exploitative labor practices in Guatemala, of course. The way they made money was they paid these people almost nothing and then sold the fruit to Americans for high dollar.
Is this because I think this also where the song comes, "Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana," because they have to. If they don't sell the bananas, they don't live.
Exactly. So, exactly. Yep.
Daylight, because they work throughout the night because it's colder.
Yep.
Every song is fucked up.
Yeah. Well, and it did bring that song. I don't know if it was intended to be like a parody. It's used as a parody, unfortunately, because the Dale, right? Like it's like a fun kind of thing. I think it was probably just trying to bring this to light, just like the novel that was written that coined the term Banana Republics was trying to bring it to light. It was like Cabbages and Kingdoms or something. I got to find the novel. If I find it while I'm doing this, then
Cabbages and Quinoa.
Yeah, and Quinoa. Actually, it was written by, if you guys are curious at all, a guy whose pen name was O. Henry. Pretty well-known author of the time, and he was in Guatemala before he wrote the novel. He wrote the novel from his experience there. He was in there because he was avoiding tax fraud in the U.S. They were coming to get him, and he was like, nope, I'm going to Guatemala, because back then you could do that, and they would have no idea where you are.
Sounds about right for a good old American boy.
That's about right.
Evade taxes in the islands.
Oh, Henry. It's Sidney Porter. He has a different first name, but middle name is Sidney, last name is Porter. Anyway. I've read a lot of stuff on this, so I'm going to be jumping around a bit.
All right, go. Okay.
So, all right. United Fruit Company, they were concerned, right? They were concerned. These people are going to unionize. Gosh dang it.
Oh, no.
And if they unionize, they're going to want benefits, and they're going to want, better pay.
They're going to want to live.
And we're going to have to charge more for our bananas and sell less bananas and make less money. So we ain't having that. So the United Fruit Company approaches the U.S. government. And they actually were very successful with this lobbying campaign because the U.S. government was already kind of like, I don't know if I like what's going on here. So President Harry Truman authorized Operation PB Fortune, which was a CIA operation to topple Arbenz and the Guatemalan government in 1952.
Peanut butter fortune.
Before that could happen, Dwight D. Eisenhower was elected in 1952, and he also promised to take a harder line against communism. Remember, Cold War, Soviets, enemies, right? So they're like, we got to stand up for this. This was also Red Scare time. So if you remember that you probably heard about in school, right? Everybody
the Red Scare.
The Red Scare. Somebody suspects that you're a communist, right?
Yeah.
That's the Crucible was written as an allegory to that, right? It's a witch trial. So same thing was happening at this same time. So he actually has two staff members that he brings into his cabinet, John Foster Dulles and Alan Dulles. I'm assuming related, maybe brothers.
Dulles?
D-U-L-L-E-S.
So
yeah,
close.
Dulles, maybe. And they actually were linked to the United Fruit Company. Interestingly enough. How? I don't know, but they probably were making some money out of it. It all comes back to money.
You say D-U-L-C-E?
D-U-L-L-E-S.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So then what they did was convince the federal government and the Eisenhower administration to exaggerate conclusions about the extent of communist influence among Arbenz advisors, and he authorized CIA to carry out another operation, which was Operation PB Success, which was in 1953, August 1953. The CIA armed, funded, and trained a force of 480 men, led by Carlos Castillo Armas. After they, went in and they were trying to kind of shake things up a little bit, they sent this force in to just invade. Straight up. We're just invading Guatemala. And that was on the 18th of June, 1954, and it was also backed by a heavy campaign of psychological warfare, as well as air bombings on Guatemala City and a naval blockade. Yes.
Psychological?
Yep.
Okay, I get the naval blockade and everything. I mean, what did they do psychologically?
Scare tactic. So similar to, we're calling it the Red Scare, but if you're a communist, the U.S. will crack down on you, right?
I was thinking MK Ultra type stuff.
Right, like making it so that people are terrified to speak out. That's what they mean by psychological warfare. They don't want people to rise up against this, right?
Got it.
So they did go in, they invaded militarily, they did the air bombings in Guatemala City, they had a naval blockade. They didn't do so well in the fight, honestly. It's 480 dudes with guns that were trained, right? However, the psychological warfare was highly effective, and fear of a full-blown U.S. invasion intimidated the Guatemalan army, who refused to fight and surrendered. Arbenz, at that point, tried to arm civilians to resist the invasion. They wouldn't do it because they were super freaking scared.
I don't blame them.
I wouldn't do it, so I get it. And he resigned on the 27th of June. Carlos Castillo Armas, the guy that was in charge of this 480-man force led by the CIA, became the new president 10 days later. They negotiated in San Salvador, and he got all the power and stuff. That was the definitive death blow to democracy in Guatemala. It was widely considered or criticized internationally and strengthened the long-lasting anti-U.S. sentiment in Latin America. Actually, they tried after this with another operation to justify what they did. Right? Do you remember what episode was that? Where they did Operation Dirty Trick?
The cat.
Oh no, that was the Cuba one, right?
That's the Cuba one.
Yeah.
Right?
So, but that was about 10 years later, where they try to go back and fabricate evidence to show no, we were right to do this.
Oh my God.
No, that was Operation Northwoods.
Oh
yeah,
yes,
Operation
right,
Northwoods and Dirty Trick was related to the Challenger, or not Challenger.
The Challenger.
Not Challenger. One of the space flight missions. Anyway. I did that episode already. It's gone out of my brain. Go back and watch it. Operation Northwoods. It's got 5 views on YouTube, and I'm pissed off about it. So go back and watch it.
It's a
good one. It's a good one. It's similar to this one. Maybe people don't like these political ones. Whatever. I don't know.
They're real, though. That's the thing.
They're real. So anyway, they created a new operation, which is Operation PB History. Remember, we started with Operation PB Fortune, then PB Success, and then now PB History, right? Peanut butter history. They were looking to find evidence of Soviet influence in Guatemala, and basically they couldn't find anything. They tried, couldn't do it. Castillo Armas quickly assumed dictatorial powers. He banned opposing parties. He executed, imprisoned, and tortured political opponents, and reversed the social reforms of the revolution in the first few months of his government. Castillo Armas rounded up and executed between 3,000 and 5,000 supporters of Arbenz.
Oh, my God.
And after that, there were nearly 4 decades of civil war. The leftist guerrillas fought a series of U.S.-backed authoritarian regimes, and those brutalities even included a genocide of the Maya people.
The Were those the natives to Guatemala?
Yes.
What the? We're really good at killing natives, aren't we?
Sure are.
Jesus Christ.
Sure are. So let's talk about PB history really quick. So it began in '54. They had 4 CIA agents come to Guatemala with a specialist who had a structure of the communist parties. They targeted Arbenza's personal belongings, police documents, headquarters, all that stuff. They figured they didn't have time to destroy any evidence, right? Like, they sent these dudes in, they resigned real quick. The army was like, screw this, I'm not fighting. So they're like, they didn't have time to like shred stuff. And so they went in and they looked and they looked and they looked. They were given the cover name Social Research Group. And to avoid confrontation, they opted to leave the documents in Guatemalan possession instead of bringing it back. So they actually created a Guatemalan intelligence agency that would try to dismantle the communist organizations from the inside. So the National Committee of Defense Against Communism was formed in Guatemala on July 20th of 1954.
Oh my God, there's so much happening.
And there's links to all this other stuff. Like, I can go way deep on this.
They formed the GIA?
Yes, basically.
GIA is CIA.
Yeah, well, it's NCDAC, but really in Spanish it's CDNCC. The personnel of the new agency.
This is just so Chiquita wouldn't lose money?
This is for the United Freaking Fruit Company, bro.
This is just so they were like, oh, we don't want to lose this little bit of money. Let's start genocides?
Exactly right.
Over bananas?
That's exactly right.
What the fuck?
I know.
This is who we're wearing on shirts that say obey? Is it supposed to represent like...
No, Banana Republic is owned by Gap. It's a separate company, but they did take the term Banana Republic and run with it.
No, I meant like the picture of the dude.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm getting to Che Guevara.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So
okay,
you get to
no,
see
it's not
where...
the same. I was thinking he was already the dictator dude.
No. Che Guevara was not a dictator.
Okay,
in fact, he was never
confused.
even a president of anything. But he was involved in all these governments that for Guatemala and for Cuba.
Got it.
So anyway, there was tension, of course, between government agencies about using the information they gathered. They wanted to use it to subvert communists. CIA did. USI wanted to use it for propaganda. CIA's leadership of the operation allowed it to retain control over any documents deemed necessary for clandestine operations. They even opened a CIA file on our guy, Che Guevara, Ernesto Che Guevara. So anyway, in the subsequent decade, the documents gathered were used by the authors of several books, most frequently with covert CIA assistance, which described the Guatemalan Revolution and the 1954 coup in terms favorable to the CIA. Remember, it's PB history. They want to write it so that you know the CIA were the good guys. Don't doubt that the government has your back. We need more of this. We need more of that government.
Oh my God.
I think if we get just a little more government, we'll have world peace.
So, bring me the government.
Bring me more. Expand it. We don't have enough debt. Bring me more of that.
I love my debt.
So much freaking debt. It's not even enough, man. I can't. It's a drug. The debt is a drug too.
That's a drug. You happy, guys? You happy reptilians?
Yep.
I'm stressed.
I know. So anyway, in good news, I guess, if you can count it, silver lining if nothing else, despite all the efforts of the CIA to write these books using those documents and try to make it look favorable, international and academic reaction to this policy was highly negative. Even the books partially funded by the CIA were critical of its role. They failed its chief objective of finding convincing evidence that the PGT had been instruments of the Soviet Union, or even that they had any connection to Moscow whatsoever.
Oh my God.
I know. The Soviets actually used the description of this coup to great success. They said the U.S. crushed the democratic revolution to protect the United Fruit Company's control over the Guatemalan economy, and that was much more accepted because it's the truth. The Soviets actually told the truth on this one.
I wonder who's the bad guys.
Yep. Anyway, there's a long legacy of this, but what's interesting is that in Guatemala City at the time was Argentine-born Che Guevara, who was 25 years old at the time. He tried to join. He tried to fight with the government against the coup. He was like, "We can do this, guys. You know, come on. We're revolutionaries." People weren't having it, so he actually fled and took shelter at the embassy of Argentina. And eventually, he granted safe passage to Mexico, where he would meet up with a fella named Fidel Castro in Mexico. Fidel Castro was like, "Look, man, there's some stuff going down in Cuba," and he's like, "I'm in." And so they go and join the Cuban Revolution. His experience in the Guatemalan coup was actually a big factor in convincing him of the necessity for armed struggle against imperialism and informed his successful military strategy during the Cuban Revolution. So actually, if we think about it, the United Fruit Company led to a bigger, badder Cuban Revolution than there would have been, because Che Guevara was contentedly just living in Guatemala. He didn't really want to fight. They
Right.
had a democratically elected president. Things were going okay. And then the fruit company is like, bam, 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 right? And he's like, well, all right, I'm going to Cuba. I'm joining Fidel Castro. And all that went down, right? A lot of people had to die for that.
So he was in support of like communist like governments?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was very much in support of communism. So again, let's talk about Che Guevara, because you might be wearing his shirt, right? Or his face on his shirt. He was a guerrilla military leader for the Cuban Revolution. Tried to be for the Guatemalan Revolution, or at least the fight against the coup.
Damn bananas.
But in the Cuban Revolution, he was a big player. So he's basically one of the people that made Fidel Castro a success. He's partly why Fidel Castro was able to take power in Cuba when he did.
Right.
And then we already did Operation Northwoods. So yeah, the U.S. didn't take kindly to that. And so that's where that ended up. And that's kind of where Cuba is at today, up until 2008. When Cuba was finally opened as a potential trade partner of the United States.
Right.
So it took that long.
I thought it was opened a lot more recent than that.
Well, and it got closed again, I think. If I remember right. It was like, because I remember Obama wanted to open relations with Cuba.
Right. And then it opened once he died. Once Fidel died.
Once Fidel Castro died.
Yeah, now it's open. I believe. I don't know. I haven't checked in on it.
I don't know. All I know is in Brazil, you can still get Cuban cigars. So back when it was still closed, I had a few Cuban cigars.
Yeah, now you can get them easily.
Yeah, and they're not as good.
Well,
they were good
because
then.
they're a lot more manufactured now.
Yeah, I know.
They're
were
not
good
like
then.
rolled by like Sammy in the back shed. Like,
Right.
hey, this is a good shit, man.
Right. Let's now we've talked a little about Che Guevara, right? You guys at least have some context, right? And I'm not going to spoil it for you how he died and all that. You can look it up yourself. There's a whole story to this man's life. And if you're going to wear his shirt, you should probably know it, because anybody could come up to you and be like, hey, who's that? And you're like, oh, it's Che Guevara. Are you an idiot? No, I'm not. I'm a historian. Tell me about him. And then you look like a fool. You want to be a fool? I
You're
didn't think
an idiot.
so. I didn't think so. Don't wear people's faces on your shirt if you don't know who they are.
Take it off.
Take it off now.
Except my face. You can wear that one.
You can if you want us to make merch with our faces on it in
Just
the same
our face.
that same black and white style as that Che Guevara photo, we would do it.
It just says obey and then
Yeah.
real small text. It's like, if you feel like it, I don't want to
Yeah.
make you do anything you're
Yeah, I
uncomfortable
know.
with.
We actually, consent is really important. So if you don't want to do this, you don't have to.
Obey with consent. Oh no, we put our face and then our tagline: death, doxed, and deceased.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No, what was it? Dead, doxed. What was it?
No,
Dead.
it was. Yeah, it can't be both. It was deplatformed.
Yeah,
It was,
dead, doxed, and deplatformed.
Yep, that's what it was. That's what it was. All right.
That's what I strive
right.
for.
You kill them first, and then you dox them, and then you cancel them, and we use deplatform. I remember
It's
now.
weird because a lot of people have been getting canceled after they die.
That's the way it's going, man. We predicted that. Follow our podcast for more future predictions, because we're right a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I'm surprised how often we're right. But okay, back to the United Fruit Company, right? After this coup, and it was not well received, as we talked about, the Soviets used it to their benefit, and everybody in the world found out this United Fruit Company took out, like, basically, there was a mass genocide of Maya people. There's 4 decades of civil war following this. There was execution of between 3,000 and 5,000 followers of the democratically elected president, okay, by this new dictator that was instituted by the CIA because the United Fruit Company told them to do it, or lobbied them to do it. They were having some trouble. Let's not pretend that's not a PR issue, right?
Holy moly. This is hurting my brain.
So here's what happened. They rebranded to Chiquita, okay? They also became an advocate, and let's not pretend that Chiquita is not a more Spanish sounding name, right? Like using that then Dole. Okay?
Dole.
They're using Chiquita to their advantage. Like, no, we support, our banana republics.
Oh, shut up. Shut up.
And so what they did, actually, this is where I'm instituting one of my own theories here, just because I don't have proof of this. I didn't find anything on this, but my theory is this. When that happened, the big banana at the time the big banana. The banana that was being sold and grown at the time was not the same banana that we have today. The bananas we have today are very different from the bananas in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, right? They were most often a Big Mike banana, is what they were called. That's why I said big banana. They were called Big Mike.
Like, are we close to the plantains, right?
They were. So the closest you can get to it now is Runts Candy. The banana flavor of Runts Candy is the flavor of the old banana when Runts was invented.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm serious. Like, the reason the banana doesn't taste like a banana.
This is the most shocking thing I've heard in the whole story. Like, because famously, those are the most popular runs.
Oh, 100%.
They have those candy machines with just bananas.
I would do all bananas. Yeah. That flavor that they synthesized was developed to taste like the original Big Mike banana that was being sold in mid-19th or 20th century, right?
Just imagine like the equations floating all around me.
Right.
Like, what the
So
oh
if
my
you
God.
want to taste a Big Mike banana, or at least something kind of close to it, now you have to get it from Runts. Because the Big Mike banana no longer exists, at least not in any kind of commercially viable sense. Maybe somebody's growing it in their backyard, but you cannot find it. You cannot grow it. What happened was a virus called Panama virus came and wiped out all of the commercial banana plantations, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they couldn't actually grow bananas and sell them anymore because every time they would sprout up, they would get sick because they spread from banana to banana, right?
Sprout.
Yeah.
Stay with me. No, stay with me.
Rosebud, right? Like it's like the little banana is just dying in your arms.
They're just falling out of the tree. It's like, I'm dying.
Yeah.
No.
As I lay dying, I look to the moon.
The monkeys are like, no.
Yeah.
No.
So these bananas, their souls were caught and reincarnated to other bananas.
We are bananas.
So my theory is that as kind of a hit back for all the bad PR that they caused themselves, it's possible that the United Fruit Company decided, if we can't have these bananas, no one can have these bananas.
Come on.
And released a this is the theory part. Everything I've said up to this point is 100% true. Like up to this sentence is 100% true. You can look it up. This one I'm just theorizing. If they thought that they could get away with all this stuff and having their own democratically elected officials and getting paid well and having labor unions, well, they thought wrong. Let's blow it all up. All the bananas got wiped out. And then they introduced another banana, the Cavendish. That is the modern banana. Yep. It is resistant to this particular virus.
Genetically modified bananas.
And it actually, the interesting thing about Cavendish bananas, I know too much about bananas, I'm realizing as I say this.
No, honestly, it's this. Knowing this sucks because knowing this is all just so they don't lose a bit of fruit profits.
Yeah.
Like what? Like
I know.
The thing is, it's not shocking. It just makes me mad.
It's upsetting
because
right?
it's not out of the ordinary for someone else. This has happened hundreds of other times.
Right, and that's why I came in kind of hot with this episode, and I could tell. Like my tone, I was already
you got
a little
me
angry.
heated about it.
I was a little angry before I even started. Now I hope you feel what I'm feeling. But anyway, the Cavendish banana, they are actually all genetically identical. Every Cavendish banana is a clone. And so they are basically setting themselves up because now, this is how things are going now in Honduras and Guatemala. If you're curious, Chiquita is still running things. They're still technically banana republics, okay? That hasn't changed. But now they're saying, well, we're making sure that we pay them fairly. We're making sure they're getting what they need. We're just selling a cheaper banana instead to keep our profits, right? But we're making sure they're getting taken care of. But they're still trying to prevent them from getting a little too rowdy. They're trying to prevent them from getting too many benefits, getting paid too well.
I'm
right?
so mad.
So my theory is that the Cavendish banana is genetically identical and introduced so that, if need be, they could blow it all up again.
Yep. And push that button.
Yep.
They are this close to being as bad as Nestle. This close. Nothing beats Nestle.
I'd call this worse than Nestle, dude. I mean, Nestle has done some messed up stuff.
Nestle also had genocides.
They did also have genocides. That's true.
They had multiple genocides.
No, that's true. You're right.
Nestle's terrible.
I'd put them both on the same tier.
Fuck you, Nestle.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you didn't learn this in school, I'm pretty sure you didn't learn this in school.
Have we talked about Nestle before?
Yeah, we did an episode on Nestle. How they own all the water in Nicaragua.
Yeah, we didn't go over the baby formula?
No, we did.
Okay, good.
We did, yeah.
I couldn't remember if we did.
I don't remember which episode it was.
That's when I had a new baby, and I was like,
dude, yeah.
buddy.
Oh, so did I.
Oh, buddy.
So did I, yeah. No, I was pretty upset. Baby formula was crazy expensive back then. I looked recently. It's come down.
Tiny bit.
But at the time, it was like $50, $60.
Oh, my God, yeah.
I was like, dude.
Like for one container.
And I'm like, I got to feed the baby, so what the heck do you want me to do? You know?
And it sucks whenever your wife can't make the milk, so you have to buy it.
Or other reasons, like the milk is there, the baby can't latch well because she has a tongue tie or a lip tie. That's my case, right?
Yeah.
So like she just wasn't getting it, and she had to eat, right? Anyway, don't want to go back there. So
food companies suck.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring this to your attention on this beautiful day that you're having. So you can watch this, and you could understand a little bit about what happened with Chiquita and their former name, United Fruit Company, and why a fruit company was responsible not only for decades of civil war, execution of I wouldn't even call them loyalists, but execution of just normal people who voted for a guy, genocides, and the Cuban Revolution all came down to one company, Chiquita. And if you guys want to sponsor us, here's our number down below. Thanks to our sponsor, Chiquita. We've said their name a lot this episode.
Chiquita.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, baby, when you talk, their hips lie. They are liars.
Their hips are liars, dude. So anyway, comment below if you learned something. This was a mind sweeper episode, which means it was all true, except for my little bit about them actually like releasing Panama virus on the Big Mike banana.
I wouldn't put it past them.
If any of you guys know how to get your hands on a Big Mike banana and you want to send it to us, we'll get you a PO box.
PO box 123 Big Mike Lane.
Send it via like refrigerated truck or whatever, so it's like okay to eat when it gets here.
Don't send bananas. Spiders come in the bananas.
There's spiders everywhere. What do you mean?
There's banana spiders.
Yeah, I know, but
I don't want them. I don't want spiders. There's huntsman spiders already showing up in America. I don't need them. I don't need any more spiders.
I bet you there's like 3 spiders in this room. You know, like there's just spiders are just everywhere.
Not banana or huntsman spiders.
Okay, that's
fine. The size of my hand. I don't need that.
Okay, at least
they can stay in Australia. You guys can handle it.
The banana spider is actually a Brazilian wandering spider, so that's in Brazil. It's in the Amazon.
Okay, I guess I just meant the huntsman spiders because they're in.
No, but they do come on bananas sometimes. The wandering spider, scary thing.
No, thank you.
I don't know if I should share this or not. What the Brazilian wandering spider does, what its venom does.
Yep, go ahead. I need be aware.
Okay. If you are a male, you got man parts.
No.
You don't want to know?
No, I want to know.
If you got man parts, the venom of the Brazilian wandering spider can actually cause a prolonged erection that results in amputation.
Finally.
Because you know, like the Viagra commercials, like if you have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, like go to a doctor. That's what this Brazilian wandering spider does. So horribly so, it will like the tissues will begin to like degrade, I guess, if the erection goes on for past a certain point, because the blood. I can't even talk about this.
It's just like it coagulate.
Yes, the blood coagulates
and cuts it off, and just...
and you've cut off supply, and it'll get necrotic, and you'll go septic, and you'll die if they don't remove it.
That
a bite from a Brazilian wandering spider will do that, and a Brazilian wandering spider is like a dinner plate sized tarantula, about this big.
What the fuck?
Nature's scary. Damn, nature, you're scary.
I hate bananas. I hate bananas now.
Yeah.
I need to go find me some of those runts, though.
Let's go get some runts.
You got me thinking of those runts.
Let's get some runts.
They still have them at the mall.
Can we DoorDash just a bag of banana runts for the next episode here?
I think they do sell them by the banana still, I think. By the bushel.
Yeah.
By the bunch.
We'll talk offline. Thank you for watching. Comment below, like, and subscribe. If you learned something, share with your friends. Maybe they'll learn something, too, that they didn't learn at school. That's what we're here to do, is just expand your mind a little bit.
And if your day's ruined, good.
Yeah,
mine too.
If your day's ruined, that was the goal all along. So
now you're more informed, and you have something new to talk about in therapy.
You betcha.
So will I.
See you guys next week.
Bye.